طيب.
طيب بسم الله. Good evening. Welcome to the first day of the third Fundamentals of Clinical Research series. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Heather Gehtani. I will be the moderator for this session. And I'm glad to welcome Professor Khalid Ibn Abdurrahman, founding Dean of Imam Mohammed bin Saud Islamic University, School of Medicine, the former Vice Rector of Imam Mohammed bin Saud Islamic University for Planning, Development and Quality, founder president of the Saudi Society for Medical Jurisprudence and the editor-in-chief of the Journal of Applied Sciences at IMSIAU, who will present his presentation today, which is an overview of clinical research. At the end of the webinar, Professor Khalid bin Abdurrahman will answer your questions. If you have any, please write it down in the Q&A section. Then kindly fill the attendance form at the end of the session. And now to welcome our special guest, Professor. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for the introduction. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Salatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah. Good evening, everybody. I would like just to make sure that the slide and my voice is clear for all of you. Just one respond, the facilitator or organizer. Is it okay?
Yes, everything's okay. Everything's clear.
Okay, great. Well, I'm not sure about the audience, but I assume that most of them, they are medical students from our College of Medicine or from other institutions. I can see the number exceeding 100, and it is also somebody joining the session. I know all of you are very interested in conducting and also in doing research. It is difficult to summarize everything, every aspect of research in one webinar. But in this overview, I'm going to give you like tips for you to make sure that you understand really the facts or the fundamentals of clinical research. And this may help you to keep interested or to maintain your interest in research, and probably you will be part of a team that will at the end of the day will do research and eventually will publish the results in a very well-known or peer-reviewed journal. Let me start by the purpose of my talk, which is the learning objectives. I don't want to put a lot of learning objectives, but let me emphasize on the importance of doing clinical research at this level, at undergraduate level, and also to give you some tips of how can you conduct the research from idea to publication. It is really challenge and difficult for me to explain everything, but I'm sure that this will help you to open the door for you to pursue more study and looking at other learning resources. And I will give you some learning resources that will help you to maintain this motivation, and eventually, inshallah, will be part of research. Let me start by this piece of very important document. It's a guidelines for they call it introduction, but it's like a guidelines for clinical research. It is not only good for residents, but it's good for medical students and also for novice researchers, whether in medical field or in health sciences. So I would recommend to go to this booklet, and it is ready. You can download it from the website of the Saudi Commission, or I can give you the PDF copy of this important source. One more thing which is good for clinical practice, if you want to be a part of a clinical trial, or if you want to understand the difference of study design, in particular the clinical trials, you have to go to this website, which is very recognized internationally. It's free of charge, and you can go and take this 12 modules of clinical trials. They call it the Good Clinical Practice course. You have to apply in your own time. It took from you probably from 4 to 6 hours, and you can do it in the weekend or in your vacations. But it is very important online course, free of charge. And at the end of each module, they will ask you some questions, multiple choice questions. And at the end of the course, they will provide you with the certificate if you passed the course with at least 80% score. They will give you like this certificate, and the validity of the certificate, it's 3 years. So, for instance, when I conducted my randomized clinical trial I think we started on April or May 2020. So I applied for this course and I got this certificate, and also I recommended this course for all my members in the team, research team, and we completed the course, and then we started the clinical trial. So I recommend this one for you as well. Of course, the internet, especially the YouTubes, there are a lot of resources, but believe me, research is not a theory, it's a practice. And I think mentorship is very important in conducting research, especially for those who just started, or for the beginners in clinical research. The question is, why bother? Why we bother ourselves to conduct research? I think there are a lot of advantages and also some limitations, of course, because this is not a true or false, or it's not just a trial. I'm sure you can gain a lot of skills from conducting clinical research. Like, for instance, you can sharpen your skills of writing. The English writing, it will be improved a lot. When you really write and you contributed heavily on writing, again, it will strengthen the critical thinking skills and the analytical skills, especially if you conduct research, analytical, observational, with some part of analytical data. So this is really good for you as students. And also it will increase the confidence. It will boost your resume or CV, and this will prepare you to the postgraduate. And of course, the Saudi Commission also consider the weight of publishing or contributing in research in the CV. Also, it will let you connected with the network of researchers, whether at the level of university, college, other colleges, faculty, and so on. Even the international, if you published your paper in the international journals, peer-reviewed journals, with high impact value of the journal, then you are you might be a part of international community in research, and you may receive emails from editors, from scientists, from researchers, and also from international meetings to present your data or to share in another research. So it is good for you. Again, being part of one campus scholarly network, this is, yeah, I mean, if you interested in one area of medicine, for instance, the let's say the headaches, the migraine, or the irritable bowel syndrome, or if you are interested in surgery, the sleeve gastrectomy, then you will find yourself part of a network of those interested in this area of scholarly. So it is good for you. Also, it is a great opportunity to publish your findings. And as we mentioned, it's good also for multiple graduation track. Again, the research opportunity will help you to improve your skills of presentation skills, because if your findings is good enough to be presented in meetings, then this will help you to improve your presentation skills in international or local meetings. I'm sure there are a lot of advantages of research, but believe me, you will not regret if you are a part of any research, any good research team. Now, to make the steps of conducting research easy for you, I created this mnemonics, which is good research. So if you just remember the word good research or the phrase good research, then just follow the letters from G to H to remember the steps of good research. So the first step is good issue. So you have to find out or determine a good issue of research. And in the literature review, we'll go through this quickly, and we will open the floor for any queries or any questions. Because I don't want to talk a lot, I will make it interactive rather than just lecturing. So the first step is you have to find out of course, with your team, a good issue of research. And here are some tips to help you to find out what is the good research issue. Number one, you have to look for original issue, original question, original research, not just something which is a copy and paste. And I will speak about the copy and paste. You can repeat the same research idea on different community or different target group. Like if you want to do something on medical conditions, you find a good paper on this medical condition done in Japan, for instance, and you can repeat the same on your community. Or if this same problem done in Saudi Arabia in different regions, other regions, then you can do it on Riyadh region. If it is the population on School of Medicine or in a university, you can do it in another university. So this is not a repetition, but believe me, if you find out original thought or issue, you will not find difficulties on publication. Relevant is another good factor of selecting a good research issue. It has to be relevant to your interest, to your future. For instance, if you are interested in family medicine, then you might find an issue related to family medicine. It has to be focused. Don't look at a broad topic. Don't talk about all headaches. You just focus on migraine headache, for instance. Don't look at all age groups. You might focus on one age group, for instance, pediatrics, adults, and so on. You have to be also specific, because the outcomes of the expected outcomes has to be specific. It's not broad, and also researchable. Affordable or doable. You can do it within the frame, the time frame, or within the resources that you have. If you don't have enough resources, then you have to find out a research issue which is researchable and, of course, feasible, and you can do it with your team. Not difficult. You have to put or invite somebody else from other university just to help you on this. This will may complicate the matter. Or if the research idea and you have enough time, enough resources, then you can make it multi-institutionals, and you can also invite other resource papers. It depends on the issue and also on the situation that you want to conduct your research. Let us take an example of a research that we did with a group of students. The idea is, the issue is, we want to find out the association of migraine and irritable bowel syndrome in Saudi Arabia. So this is the issue, the association of migraine and irritable bowel syndrome. But before we just look at the association, it's not a causation, it's association, the link. It's not a causation, just the association. Also, we add another thing, the prevalence of migraine and irritable bowel. as a combined presentation. So this is an idea. The paper was published in the Biomedical Central. I give you this example just to go through the steps so that we can see how we experience this exercise, and we end up with a published paper in a good impact journal. Now, step 2 is optimum literature review. Now, the literature review is a good, it's helping to find out the gaps, and also it can help in asking a good question, so that sometimes the trigger of finalizing or deciding what is your good issue and good question is from the literature review. And most of the literatures in medical field or in clinical medicine is accessible and available. So it's an easy job, but you have to go through the scientific way of literature review. And I have a piece of article which is good for you. I can share it with you at the end of this webinar. Now, these are the 3 main sources of literature review, which is the first one is well known for you, the PubMed Central, and it is really a huge database of medical literature, and I recommend to start with this PubMed Central. And the second recommended is the Google Scholar, which is also a newly established platform, but it is good because it includes all PubMed databases or other sources, even the journals which is not included in the Scopus or in the other Web of Science, for instance, or other databases. So you may go to also Google Scholar after PubMed. This is a new third database, which is the Synapse. They claim that they are better than Google Scholar, but I don't like this claims. We are better than Google Scholar. We mean it. I try it once, but I don't think I can judge on the quality of this database, but you can try it as well. Now, this is the third step, the objective, and let's ask about the same issue that we just mentioned, the association between migraine and irritable bowel syndrome. Our aim, or the 2 main aims, to measure the prevalence of migraine and irritable bowel syndrome in Saudi Arabia, and to observe the association and the relationship between migraine and irritable bowel syndrome in Saudi Arabia. So we hypothesize that irritable bowel syndrome and migraine have a direct connection, and increasing the odds of having irritable bowel syndrome in migraine patients. That's our objective. So it is specific, measurable, researchable, feasible, and also relevant to the group of researchers. So I think it's a good example of how to apply this step on this research issue. Formulating a research question, which is after the objective, you have to write it in a question, but it's, believe me, objectives and research question is all related. The research question is good when you write your proposal to apply for the IRB, Institution Review Board, or you applied for grant. But if you don't want to bother yourself with the grants, you can just keep the objectives of the research. So these are the steps of formulating research question, the criteria for a good question, the relevance. We just repeating the same like the objectives, but we added the cost effectiveness. You have to be more cost effectiveness and the ethical standards. You consider the ethical standards of your question. Doable proposal. Again, it's good for you as Navis researcher at this level to write the proposal, research proposal. And I think also the Saudi Commission, they ask you for the proposal, or they offer some points for the proposal. So it is good to do it. The main purpose of the writing a research proposal is to obtain the ethical approval from the funding agencies or from the IRB committee. Like in our institution, we have the IRB that they ask for this, and they have a format which is almost similar to the proposal, the IRB application form. So you have, after you finish, then you just fill out the form based on your proposal. Okay, let me go quickly to the study design, because in the proposal, and once you decide about your research question, the issue and the question, or the objective, then you have to decide what methodology is suitable and also affordable for your question, research question. Now, let me just refresh your memory about the study design in general. We have two types of study design: descriptive, analytic. Descriptive, this is two types: the survey, which is the cross-sectional survey, or qualitative. This is all descriptive. You cannot interfere with the data. It's just you describe it. And for the analytic type of design, we have two main also categories: observational and interventional. In the observational, we can analyze, we do analysis, we do correlation, we do association as well, like cohort, cross-sectional analytics. Now, you can see the cross-sectional in the analytic and also in the descriptive, because this one probably, like the prevalence, just description. But here, if you do analytic, where you can examine the association, then you have analytic part of the cross-sectional. Like in our case, we have prevalence and analytic. So you can do both. And also an example of the observational, the case control. In the intervention, the most important example of the interventional analytic study design is the randomized clinical trial, or the quasi-randomized, or the quasi-experimental, or uncontrolled. I will just explain more about the types of this study designs in this slide, which is very important to know the difference. We have the non-experimental like if you don't have any comparison group, you have the study group. This is non-experimental. But if you want to do a comparison without randomization, no randomization, you just compare between the study group and this one on the experiment. You have outcomes, expecting outcomes, but no randomization. This is the quasi-experimental. If there is randomization and it is experimental, then this is the typical randomized control trial. And we did a very typical randomized control trial, and it was published, I think, 6 months ago on COVID-19 and the Nagila sativa, the short-term treatment of Nagila sativa for the treatment of COVID-19. So this is randomized. You see, the target population randomized whether to take the medicine or not to take the intervention. So there is randomization to avoid the selection bias or experimental bias. And if it is double blind, then the investigator and also the patients, they don't know whether this placebo or the medicine. Now, let's ask a question to understand the sampling technique. For instance, this is just a theoretical question. What percentage of the Saudi population supports online education during Ramadan? So if we want to do a survey or to do a study to find out the percentage of the Saudi population who supports online education during the month of Ramadan, is it feasible to take the entire population, the 34+ million Saudi population? This is nearly impossible in terms of cost effectiveness and also in terms of time and the efforts that we spend to. So what is the idea? The ideal way to take a sample that represent that's the issue of sampling. So we have a population versus sample of the population. Now, if we properly selected the sample out of the entire population in a scientific way, and the sample, it has to be representative of the population, then this will give you the same as if you have the entire population. The margin of error, also the credibility, validity of your conclusion, it has to be accurate, as accurate as the entire population. Now, in sampling, we have two categories: non-probability and probability sampling. The non-probability, which is they call it the convenient sampling, where you have a sample of students, university students, and you want to measure the prevalence of e-smoking among university students. So you can take this convenient non-probability sampling. If you want to make it more concise sampling, then you will take classes from each college, different level of education, and samples from all colleges in the universities. And this will we can call it stratified sampling, where the random sampling, the random convenient sampling, this is a simple sampling. The issue here is it has to be calculated properly so that the sample will represent the population. Okay, now, if you have the total population, let's take the same example. You want to measure the prevalence of e-smoking or e-cigarettes smoking among university students. Now, the university students, we know that the number of students registered in Imam University, more than 80, let's say 85,000 students registered. Then we know the population. This is the website, which is a very convenient, also valid website, the RawSoft. You can put the margin of error. The default is 5%, and the confidence level 95%. And here you can put the population. What is the total population of the students registered in Imam? 85,000. And here, what is the response distribution, which is the 50%. Usually, this is the default. This will give you the number, and it's free of charge. You can try it immediately. It's very easy, and most of the cross-sectional or observational studies, they are using this source, which is the RawSoft sample size. Now, if you want to calculate the sample size for unknown population, if you don't know the total population, then there is a formula. You can use it, which is a well-known also formula, in which is the sample size equals Z square times B multiply by 1 minus B على E, which is the margin of error. So we can try this by doing the same. Z it's constant number 1.696, so you can end up with the sample size. Most of the people now, they know the population, so they will go to RawSoft and they calculate the sample size easily, and you can write it in the methodology section that you are used and how you calculated the sample size. Now, the IRB, I think most of you heard about the Institutional Review Board in research, and in our university we have the IRB committee, and they are doing their job on releasing or approving the IRB application for most of research in our university, from the faculty or students, or also from other universities. This is the website of the IRB in our university. Once you go down, you can click on this link and you go to the same site, and you follow the instructions. Here are some examples about the IRB for two applications. They give you like this letter of decision about your application. Once you get the approval, then you start your work. Number 6, it's the tool how to collect your data whether they call it the research, data collection form, or the questionnaire. You have to think about this important tool in observational studies. Most of the people using questionnaire and electronic questionnaires, and which is important to write it in a scientific way and make sure that the steps of writing the questionnaire is a proper one, especially the introduction. And I noticed that some students who participated in my course, they are not willing, or they don't like to put a long introduction. I think this is very important, because the journals or the reviewers of the journals, they will argue about the consent form and the statement of consents and confidentiality, and also the participants who participates in the research. So it is important to write down some notes. This is an example of good the book that the study approved by RB at King Saud, and they also they stated how they can contact the PI if they have any queries, and also they have the agreement to participate. And I have my own statement, which is also goes with the international Helsinki agreement of writing a research. These are the steps of good survey design. Yani you can start by identify what you want to cover in the survey, and put questions that are necessary, and try to make it as simple as possible, because people, they don't want to fill out a long, lengthy survey. If the survey is too long or too short, is not good. So you have to be careful on writing the questions, and also on testing your questions by piloting the survey, so that you can eliminate confusion, eliminate repetition, or eliminate the jargons or the statements which is not clear for the audience. So these are some steps that help you on writing the questions. After you disseminated your questionnaire or the data collection form using electronic one like the SurveyMonkey or the Google Form or any other tools, electronic tools, then you have to look at the raw data and to clean it. We call it the cleaning of data, to make sure that no no data which is odd, we call it odd answers or odd data, like zeros or something like that, or incomplete data. So you have to look at it as initial cleaning, and then if you make sure that everything is good, then you start sending your data to the statistician, or if you are good enough in statistics, then you can do it yourself. But you have to make sure that the planning of what you want exactly out of this analytical or the data analysis is so important. So you have to sit with your team to look at what is the expected findings out of your research. This is the steps of statistics. And now some students, they ask me about which is good, to have a medical statistician or non-medical statistician. I think it depends on the topic. If the topic is clinically oriented, and it is better to have a clinical or medical statistician because he's oriented to the medical field. But if it is not clinically oriented, then it doesn't matter. Statistician can help. You can also, if you don't have clinical or biostatistician, you have only a statistician from other fields, like from social sciences or psychologist, is good enough, but you have to stay with him. You have to direct the statistician about what exactly, we call it the management of data. Now, step number 9, the appropriate manuscript writing. This is the stage where you already wrote your results section, and then you want to write the whole manuscript. And you can start by, for writing the manuscript, just I give you my own experience, you have to start by the title, of course, and even the authorship, you can leave it at the end, but title, and then the methodology section. And even you, though if you have a literature review, but you will start on writing by the methodology section, result sections, then the discussion sections, and then you go back to introduction, and you can write down your introduction and complete the whole process of writing, because the references you need it in at the end of your, and at the end of the completing the steps, you can write the abstract. So the abstracts, it has to be at the end of the writing process. The manuscript preparation is so important, and most of the researchers, when they come to this stage, they hang out, and they sometimes they're afraid to move on, because it is not so easy for novice researchers to write a good quality manuscript. Starting by the title page, the title of the manuscript, the author's name, the contact information, the source of funding, and also the abstract, you leave it at the end, but you have to write it as a structured manuscripts. Even the journal that you apply, they don't want structure, but you write it on as a structured, so that it will be, you will not forget any piece of important information. And then the introduction, the methods, and in the methods, you have to follow the Strobe statement checklist, which is particularly, you have subheadings under methods: the study design, the time and place of the study, the inclusion exclusion criteria, the subject's selection or the sampling technique, the information collected throughout the study, the informed consent, if applicable, and the statistical analysis used to research the results. And then the results, and in the results, you have also to have a text of the results and the graphs and the tables. And believe me, the graphs or the figures is better for the reviewers and for the readers than tables. But tables, you can reduce the number of tables to 1 or 2 and put figures, or it depends on the data. Maybe the data is all needs a table, so you can put 3 to 4 tables and 1 or 2 figures. Discussion, which is the most important part after methodology. The methodology is number 1. Discussion is number 2, where reviewers will judge on your quality of your paper. If I am a reviewer, and I am a reviewer, so many manuscripts, I focus on the methodology and the discussion. If I found it is convincing, written in a proper way, then I accepted with the revision or the observations or remarks, whether it is minor or major, but I focused on the methodology and on the discussion. So you have to be clever on writing the discussion. If you follow the Stroop statements checklist, then you're gonna be on the safe side of writing a proper discussion. The conclusion, again, is part of the at the end of the discussion, but it is also important. And the reviewers, they sometimes ask the question with whether what lessons or messages that you want to say to the audience or to the institutions or to your Ministry of Health or to those who are authority in your country. So you have to think about globally or locally or whatever the message of your paper. Don't just think about your paper, your narrow thinking. Make yourself broad thinker and put some messages that help decision makers, whether at institutional level or local level, to get something valuable out of your research. Now, let me just focus here on the references, which is a very important part of writing a good manuscript, because journal formats are totally varied and they have a lot of styles, whether Vancouver style, Harvard styles, or mixed styles. So it is good to use whether EndNote, which needs subscription, or free of charge program called Zotero. Zotero is from my experience, it's feasible, accessible, friendly users. So I recommend to use it and to try it. If you want to experience the trial of Zotero, I think you have to go to this website, YouTube, to learn how to use it. And this is a good platform, which is free of charge, that help you on writing the references. Because if you want to change, if you apply to one journal and the journal, they are not interested, it is not within their scope, then it is difficult to write the references based on the style of the second journal. Use Zotero, then Zotero will select, just click on the journal, Zotero will apply all the references based on that particular journal. We mentioned about the tables and the graphs, which is very attractive if you make it attractive for the readers, and also before the readers, for the reviewers and the editorial board. So it is good to put some time on tables and graphs. And I repeat that Stroop statement checklist is the key of writing your paper, especially the observational cross-sectional one. You can find it all. Another also formats, there is a guidelines or checklist for other study designs. Research presentation, selecting the appropriate journal for publication. This is, and again, sometimes difficult for the Navis researchers to find out. So ask for help and ask seniors, ask expert researchers to help you. And I just give you a tip on that. يعني let me let me refer to the Clavinet Analytics, which is the platform for the Web of Science database that includes more than 12,000 peer-reviewed high-impact journals with low-impact journals as well. If you go to this website, you can see this, browse the journal or search for journal. If you want to match manuscript, that means you have you wrote already the final draft of your manuscript, and you want to submit it, but you don't know which journal. Then you can go. This website needs sign up. You have to have a username. So I used my username here, and in this manuscript matcher, you can put the title of your paper or the manuscript, and then put the abstract here, and click Find Journals. Then, for instance, we put the Association of Migraine and Irritable Bowel Syndrome, Saudi Arabia, and I put also I inserted the abstract and Find Journal. Then it will come based on based on the most probability of accepting your paper. Like this, 99% probable to accept your paper, and you go for the website, and if you want to see more about the journal, whether how much the impact factor, and it will go to other journals. Like here, they put Biomedical Research International, the journal that we have already selected, and we published our paper, but they put just 33% chance of accepting. But luckily enough, the paper was accepted and published in that journal. The final step: handle reviewers' comments. Once the paper submitted and you received professional acceptance of your paper with reviewers' comments, then you have to handle the comments, and you can write a piece of letter to the editor with the response to the reviewers' comments, one by one, reviewer 1, reviewer 2, and you have to put in color the reviewer comments, and in another color your response to each comment. And some journals, they can go back and forth to finally accept your journal, and some journals, they are much easier to accept your paper. It depends on the quality of your piece of paper, and also the experience of the journal in terms of reviewers and editorial style. Here is some examples of the papers that we did with the students, and finally we publish it, like the study habits, highly effective students, the lifestyles of Saudi medical schools. By the way, it's a group of 3 students, not 3, I think 2 students, and myself, and the project was good enough to be ended by 2 separate papers, one published in Advances in Medical Education and Practice, The other one on the environmental research, International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health, the impact of this 4.68, which is high impact. And here are some other journals in family medicine and other journals in BMC, medical education. This is also a good paper on investigation on the factors associated with the persistence of anosmia and agnosia in Saudi Arabia, and so the COVID-19 patients. This is during the pandemic. And again, this is good piece of paper. So the MIDS and CAM-MIDS frameworks, the similarities and differences. This is, we use a very unique methodology, which is not commonly used in the literature. And I think this is a good reference for people if they want to use our methodology. So here are some examples of the paper that we published. So I think here we can stop and take some questions from the audience.